Now that is an inauspicious start. I started the wrong camera. Anyways, what's going on, fishy friends? It's good to see all of you guys for the very first episode of the Fishing Corner on the Tight Lines channel. I don't know how I got a bubble of a thumbs down, but it was accurate because I certainly did flub the beginning there. But anyways, so welcome to the Fishing Corner. Welcome to Tight Lines. I see 10 folks already coming in. Thank you for your initial support already. But the Fishing Corner is really going to focus on working with local captains, talking about techniques, talking about seasonal things, talking about various types of fishing, and really kind of avoiding the politics of it all. Our good friends at Fish Talk Magazine covered it earlier on tonight. They had a good 1-hour piece on the state of striped bass. If the politics angle is kind of what you're looking for, hey Rodney, what's going on, buddy? It's good to see you. If the politics angle is what you're looking for and kind of the wildlife fishery, check them out. And there's a lot of other great sources. Maryland CCA does a lot of great work on that as well. So please check out those news sources. Fantastic people there. But here at the Fishing Corner, we're really going to try to focus on the fishing itself. And man, do we have a couple of experts for you guys tonight. Carl, good to see you. Rodney, thanks so much for tuning in and commenting. And I'm going to go ahead and bring those two gentlemen in, two good friends of mine, and probably some of the most knowledgeable guys on the bay in Captain Walleye Pete and Captain Tom Weaver. How are you guys doing?
I'm good, Tom. Tom, I heard a minute ago that you weren't feeling too good for 3 days.
Just getting better now. It took me down. Yeah, having a young daughter, Pete. When the petri dish they live in.
I'm currently camping in the mountains of Pennsylvania, so I'm in my glamper.
Right, no petri dish up there. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Tom. Have you seen his glamper? I mean,
yes.
It's
glamorous.
I joke about it, but it's nicer than my house.
Yeah, come on, man.
It is. I mean, I could take the camera around and prove it. But hey, Cambo, good to see you, buddy. But it's been a while since I talked to you guys. Let's do a little year in review, or actually, before we even do that, Pete, start us off and tell us about Four Seasons charter business. Tell us about the kind of fishing you do.
Okay.
And how long you've been doing it, etc.
Oh God. Well, Four Seasons Guide Service started in the year 2000. I was full-time military at the time. Then I retired in 2004, and I've been guiding light tackle ever since. Quite a ways south of Tom Weaver. I'm glad because everybody fishes with Tom Weaver up there. But anyway, I'm slinging light tackle in remote water all the time. I hate other boats. Granted, there's times of the year when you got to be around other boats and the main stem's starting soon. But for the whole year, I'm out in remote water. If a boat comes near me, I leave. Blah, blah, blah. And it's slinging poppers, cranks, plastics. And yeah, it's all good stuff. I love it. And I go daylight till 8-9 hours, and then I'm done for the day and get ready for the next one. But I've been doing it. The other day was well over 4,258, I think. 4258 for numbers of trips. So I've been there, done that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you guys cross paths a little bit. I've been on either one of your boats and seen the other one there. But yes, you're right. I think Tom tends to go a little bit further north than you do, and you go a little bit further south. But Tom, tell us about Fish with Weaver. How long you've been doing it? I know there's some wrinkles about what you do that makes you a little bit different than everyone else.
I got plenty of wrinkles. I fish out of Annapolis. I maybe a bit like Pete too, but I keep my boat in one place, and that's where I go fish from, and I deal with what the day presents me: wind, weather, fish, other boats, etc. I've been fishing full time up here for about 10 years, I suppose. Fishing here since I started fishing in 1990 when I arrived. And it was interesting. When I arrived in 1990, I arrived the year after the end of the moratorium, and I had no idea about a moratorium. And I went out there and slung a fish hook out there and caught a bunch of fish in an hour. I thought, this place is the best place on earth. I've never seen anything like it. And so I've been fishing here since 1990. I worked professionally in the Keys for about 15 years down in Key West before I started up here for about 10, 8, 9, 10, I don't know, 10 years ago. I started full time up here.
And you do a lot of fly fishing on your boat.
Yeah. So I run a smaller boat than probably most of the other guides, and fly fishing is my background, and so I run a lot of fly trips, and light tackle, obviously. I typically, my average crew is 1, 2, or 3. I'll take 4, but 2 and 3 are very comfortable. Fly guys, I get a lot of single fly guys because that's sort of the way you have to do it. I'll take 2 fly guys. One can fish off the back. It's challenging. You have to think differently to consistently put a fly guy on fish. They're extremely grateful when they catch a fish. When they catch 50 fish, it's their best day ever. So you're always a hero. And they like fish this big, so they don't always have to be big fish.
I've noticed that about the fly guys I get, man. They love a fish, and small does not matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. It's super. It's just for them, a trout. 3 days to get a trout is if I could put them on a 50 fish day, their eyes pop. You know what I mean? And if I have a tough day, they're used to it. So it's kind of, and I work my butt off to put them on the best fish I can. And then when you get them on a really big fish, it's the fish of their lifetime sometimes.
Well, that can be said for both of you guys. Both of you gentlemen are among the hardest working guys on the bay, that's for sure. Real quick before we kind of go into a year in review, Pete, what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you should they want to book a trip with?
Well, Facebook at my name, Pete Dahlberg, or Facebook at 4 Seasons Guide Service. You can get all my info off 4 Seasons Guide Service again, or my regular Facebook page. It's easy to get a hold of me there. My number's there. It's all good. So it's easy peasy. It's good to get a hold of me ahead of time. Luckily, I'm still booked a lot, so that's a good thing. Rarely.
Yeah, guys, for those of you watching, if you want a trip with either of these gentlemen, it's probably not going to happen tomorrow or within the next few days. Tom, what's the best way for someone to book a trip with you?
Facebook or Instagram works. My website is probably most comprehensive, has details and rates and all the rest of it. So fishwithweaver.com is
great. So we'll start with you on this one, Tom. A year in review. Were there any sort of trends about this last year that you noticed? One type of fish that was a little bit more prevalent than in the past? Sort of encapsulate that.
Well, we'll go. Our fish in this part of the bay is striped bass. I mean, there isn't. Without the striped bass, we wouldn't be doing what we do. So the trend early, my early season, the winter stuff was some of the better stuff we've had up here in open water for the bigger. And then spring was when I fish up in the rivers, which catch and release only, outstanding. And that's some of the best time for my fly guys to get on numbers. We're in relatively shallow water, 5, 6, 7 feet, sometimes shallower. And they're getting shots and shots and shots. This spring in particular, just absolutely remarkable, and I hadn't really experienced this in the Chesapeake Bay, was the crystal clear clarity of the water.
There absolutely was.
We were coming across schools of fish that were as spooky as bonefish. You managed to get a fly or a jig in front of one, you hook one, it would flash, and the school would be gone. And that we just haven't had that. Gin clear water all the way through May. Then the rest of the season sort of progressed along. I avoid, as much as I can, as like Pete says, I stay away best I can from other boats. I did go to the Inner Harbor 3 times. I took a fly guy for long, story. long story short, this guy called me. He's coming up from New Mexico, and he wanted to go fly fishing and catch a striper. And so I ran up there, and I didn't realize until and I'm like, whether the wind was whatever and everything. So I went into the inner harbor, and he was on a quest to catch a fish on the fly in all 50 states, and this was number 38. And he catches his first fish. It was this big. I unhook it and throw it back, and his face dropped. He needed a picture of it. Like, oh, we better get another one then, So we got him a few fish in the inner harbor, ships and everything behind. Oh God, So I didn't go in there very much. Did very well. I mean, I said I worked hard and got fish. It wasn't awful, but there are not a lot of fish around outside of centrally concentrated fish. The highlight, I suppose, for the summer was the size and quality of the bluefish. Red drum didn't make as big a showing up here as they normally do. The mackerel were not, as prevalent. So other summer fish, but the bluefish were exceptional. Big bluefish and big schools up here, just blitzing surface. So that was kind of a year in review highlight would have been that. The continued struggles, and I'm not going to make any excuse for it, continued struggles with rockfish numbers is tricky. Having said that, most of our fish are getting bigger now compared to what we've had in the past 5 years. Those ones that are now 5 years older than they were 5 years ago. So we're getting quality fish, but a lot less of them.
Got it, Pete. I know that Tom kind of stole the thunder on the bluefish a little bit, because I know that's something that we've all seen as a trend. But anything stand out to you this year?
Well, yeah, but quick question, Tom. How far south were you getting your good bluefish?
Oh, north of Poplar.
Really? And how big?
The hill. The hill was.
How big were they? How big were they?
5-8 pounds.
Okay, so they were the same sluggers.
Not anything over 30 inches, but
I had a couple 30s, couple 10-pounders, but we had piles of those big blues down
5
south.
pounders. Yeah.
I want to what he said about the clear water in the spring. South from Taylor's to Smith was gin clear. And then when the water warms up to 60-ish, it starts to get an emerald green to it. But what I saw this year, like Tom saw, was absolutely gin clear for the whole month. I could literally see a school of fish from a quarter mile away standing on the roof of my boat. Yeah. I could literally see a school a quarter mile away. It was unbelievable. And some of them were huge. It was, it was a very interesting gig. And, it was all good. Speck fishing this year was very weak. I had some. Yeah. But it didn't ever come together in any numbers. So specs were difficult. The blues were a good thing. The reds were slim. It was not easy. There was guys out there that run back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and they caught their fair share, and they're great. They burn gas, and they earned them, man. They absolutely earned those reds. I got my fair share, but I didn't work that hard for those. I've been doing it a long time in August, September with the guide trips, and I got folks from long time ago that like to get their rods bent. So blues and max, I look for life. And then from that life that I look for and find, a lot of times reds will show up in that life. So I'm out looking for life, not just looking for the reds. But it was all right. Now the striper gig, we have less fish, period. I had to work harder. I had great fish. If you look back through my recent Facebook, I've got beautiful fish going on. But the numbers are slim. So what's the reason? I'm sure privately, Tom and I could have a nice chat about what we think. And I know what I know. And, it's sad. But with that said, there's still good fishing. Yeah. You can't launch out of Solomon's not knowing what you're doing and go catch nice stripers. You used to be able to, but now you can't. Correct. I haven't seen a breaking fish south of the chop tank yet. I haven't seen a breaking rockfish south of the chop tank yet this fall. Typically, it's on fire. Over in the shallows of the islands, it's difficult. I'm catching fish. I've got small slivers of great structure that holds nice fish. And, it's a game that you got to play. Folks like it. I don't like it. I don't know about Tom, but I like my fish easy. And, I've been working for them. I go home and drink a beer and feel comfortable that, hey, I caught fish today. My guys were happy. But I'd rather drink a beer and say, damn, that was easy. But it's not been that easy. Could it get easy? It could. But, I don't know. The year was good. I can't say it wasn't good. It was good. But yeah, it's a challenge.
Patrick Hanna chimes in. He says, clear water all the way up until the past few weeks. Okay. One surprise over the summer for me was catching more flounder. No keeper size, but lots more flatties. Yeah, I mean, I even caught a couple of flounder this year. That definitely was a surprise for me. And good to see, some more flounder. Did you guys?
The flounder, we've been catching them up here, mouth of Eastern Bay for the past 5 or 6 years. They disappeared years ago, and then they come back. But 5 years ago, they were this big, and then now we're starting to get some what we would call reasonable sized flounder, not quite keeper, but getting close. And the name of the game in the past 3 weeks, like two other unusual ones, the ribbon fish / cutlass fish / belt fish phenomenon we had for 5 or 6 weeks was incredible. Incredible. I mean, every afternoon I'd run back, I'd stop outside the South River and catch 20 of them in half hour.
Wow.
And it was like clockwork. And then I got this following. I put a couple of pictures up, and I got people from all over the country trying to come in and get in on it because they're wow, fanatical about them. Okay. Unfortunately, they sent me all sorts of crazy lures they use for them, and I learned a lot more about ribbon fish. And if that happens regularly, I'll be thrilled. They're delicious to eat. And then the black sea bass. Oh my gosh, I've caught black sea bass every year. In fact, I caught some on the fly 4 or 5 years ago. We're nailing them, crushing them. Keeper size black sea bass. I can stop for 45 minutes and fill a bucket. 5 guys can get hooked up as we go over the same pile. And this is all right outside Annapolis. It's incredible.
That's awesome. I mean, I've never. We have black sea bass to the south.
I used to catch them in November on the gooses this big. But now,
we get a lot of little ones now too. But we've had some 14, 15 inch.
14. We're getting 14, 15. I'm hearing stories. I haven't got one yet of 20-inch black sea bass in Eastern Bay.
Yeah, I hope we get those.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I'm finding them all over.
With the negative evolution of some fish, I mean, back in the day, apparently the stripers disappeared and the giant blues showed up. Right. Now we got, if those blues show up again next year, that same slug, they'd be, what do you think, 10, 12 pounders?
Right. I mean, these were 5 to 8 pound fish. Schools of them,
Yeah. Do bluefish grow quickly?
I think so.
I think so too. Yeah. I'm sure somebody listening might know it, but I'm almost certain they grow really, really fast.
They're like a dolphin mahi, that 5 years old, they're done,
Yeah. So those bluefish that we were catching this year, those were not very old fish.
Nah.
No.
Okay. Because they were a blast. I mean, pound for pound, they pull.
I see Junior Gemina. He was on there catching black sea bass on my boat. Junior is a crafty angler, man. He was pulling rabbits out of his hat and dropping down and grabbing double sea bass, and I had guys throwing single medals down there, and we were catching them. And then he pulled out some special sauce, and then everybody had to use a special sauce. Man, did that start catching them?
What's the special sauce?
It was that crab flavored.
Oh, the goo. Yeah.
That was nasty, but man, that worked. Yeah. So yeah, Junior, good job on that.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to fish with him as well on a kind of a tough day, and I don't know if he pulled out any magic sauce, but he definitely outfished me that day.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
He is a good angler. So let's talk about kind of right now. And Pete, I'll let you start. Are you still fishing the shallow water?
I am. Here's the shallow water gig for me will be on until it's under 50 degrees. When it's under 50, basically to me, it's null and void. I haven't gone in there and caught any numbers at all when it's under 50. So when it's under 50, I think the bait leaves the shallows. It's out in that open water, and the birds and the bait and all that craziness starts to occur. And that's when we have to share water with other boats because, it's obvious then anybody can do it. But it's fun. It's great fishing. And that's what's going to happen. So am I still fishing skinny? If I was fishing today, I would have still been fishing skinny. The water is still well over 50. But, it's getting colder. It's getting colder. But I'll be draining that until it's under 50. So yeah, still fishing it, catching nice fish. I'll catch the best ones I get in shallow will be in the next couple weeks, unless it drops way below. I don't think it's gonna.
It's still warm.
Yeah,
it's been interesting. We've had really poor shallow water fishing this year. Last year, I mean, all the spots that exactly this time of year I'd go to and just they were stacked up, and you know, I'd go to a spot 0, and I go to another spot 0, and then go to another spot, get 1 follow, and it's not even a committed follow.
Yeah,
and then the sun's up here, and like, where the heck did they go? And last year, these are all guaranteed at this time of year. I'm not sure. Maybe, you know, I need to keep better notes. It might be a little bit warmer now than it was at the end of October last year, the water. But, you know, I pick away at them and certainly get nice fish, but not the quantity and quality I was getting a lot just 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Having said that, we get what Pete hasn't got yet. We've got the bird shows. We've got that. Not many fish, lots of birds. Most of the time you see 500 birds. You've got 15 fish under that 500 birds, and the 35 boats don't realize that there's only 15 fish when they go piling in. So I kind of, when I pretty quickly realized that there's just no fish there, because you get there's no fish, they're gone. I mean, you know, and one person might catch 1 fish, and and it leads to frustration amongst the fleet. You've got the professional guys trying to catch their clients' fish, and they fully understand that there's not much fish. Puts them under pressure to be a little ruder than they need to be. The amateur guys really get confused because they haven't caught any fish, and there's birds everywhere, and they see fish blowing up over there, but they get there. And so the game at the moment is not pretty, because there's, back in the day, you pull up to a bunch of birds and there's 500, 600, 700 fish underneath it, and then it'd be really nice to you know, make a you know, a deal of it. But right now it's tough. I see my daughter as that. So my daughter, and she got me. So if I come back from work in the evening, and my daughter Imogen, she says, you know, how was your day, Daddy? And I'm like, it was tough. I didn't catch many fish or any fish today. And she goes, did they have any bananas on the boat? You know, so she has given me a sticker for Father's Day last year, which is on the boat. No bananas on the boat. Thank you, Imogen.
Tom, did you fish today?
I didn't. I'm just getting over this cold. I'm fishing.
That's right. Yeah, I heard reports today. I mean, I've heard kind of the same thing that you have, that a lot of people have been struggling, but today apparently
would make sense. I heard that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no, I heard that from various locations all around. I mean, I'm getting reports from up north, which I call north of Chester. You know, the Chester, Eastern Bay, and the Chop Tank all had great fish this afternoon. My little my spy has been telling me they had a great evening. I didn't fish because I had to cancel my trip because I was under the weather for 3 days.
Yeah. Larry asked a question, and you know, I'm still, this fish is on my bucket list, and maybe there's something going on that I don't know about. But Pete, you may be able to answer this one. Larry Gipe, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. He asked, "What about the schools of tarpon?" Pete, did I miss something? No,
you didn't. There's tarpon down south in those, like out of Oyster and all that nooks and crannies down there. Fishery forever. Now, I believe that last year a couple tarpon showed up in our waters south of the ship, and you know, but there's no fishery for that. That was, anybody that sees a tarpon in our water is going to be completely just luck of the draw, just fluke of a thing. That's what
I saw them last year. You know, 72.
Yeah.
School came by, and I mean, like, they were daisy chaining, just like in the Keys. And when they're doing that, you know, I tried to foul hook one. I mean, you throw everything, you hit them on the head, and they kind of even ignore that. And they're not eating. And but I would have been thrilled to pieces to hook a tarpon in Maryland water, Chesapeake Bay. But we saw them. But
Tom, I can't believe you couldn't hook one, man.
Try to foul hook one.
The Key West thing, the Florida Keys, you couldn't hook one. Oh my God!
The scales on those things, it bounces off them like armor.
Yeah.
Pete, you caught a tarpon when you were down in Florida off the dock, didn't you?
I did. My wife was standing right next to me. I was live baiting a blue runner off of our dock. We had a few drinks at the dock, and we were just slinging some bait in the light line, and wham! It was a big one. It did a double flip. We had heavy gear, landed it, got in the water with it real quick, and let her fly. But that was pretty cool. I'm doing it again this March, by the way. So
your customers should not expect you to go down to Florida this year, or this should?
Oh, I'm not going to Florida to get. No. It's too expensive. It's too risky. I'm quite certain I think my wife still likes me, and I know I like her. I don't like to go away for 2 months. I did it. I lived in my boat. The fishing was good. You witnessed it. You witnessed it the first day I was out there in the deep, and we did really well. But there's a lot more reasons. And you know what? I'm fishing in Maryland. I don't need to go to Florida, so it's all good.
Lisa Weber asked, "Are the pickerel biting yet?" Tom,
yeah.
I
had a trip last week where I was weathered out a little bit, so I decided to start up the 7 with these guys just to keep out of the weather. And we were topwater fishing first thing in the morning with a full-size Super Spook XT. Unfortunately, the fish came up on mine, as it tends to do, and I got a citation-sized pickerel on a Super Spook on the first cast. Yeah, 24-inch pickerel.
Fisher.
I mean, I saw this thing following the topwater. I'm like, what? I mean, we're expecting rockfish, and I'm like, what is that? And it was this fin followed and then bit and then jumped in the air. And I'm like, it's a pickerel. Very surprised to see that.
I was in Canada, up in Clova, Quebec, the Gouin Reservoir, and I was fishing up there for a week straight, no contact with any humans, and we were surface plugging northerns for a whole week straight. That was fun.
Yeah.
You throw it in the grass, and you see a wake coming.
It just follows it out. It was the weirdest. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah,
it was fun. It was fun.
Well, Pete, you're on vacation, so I don't want to keep you guys here.
I'm good.
too long, but I do want to get into what is kind of a Chesapeake Bay, Maryland thing this time of year, where a lot of people will start deep water jigging. And in particular, snap jigging. When I first moved here and I saw people, snap jigging, I thought they were having some sort of conniption. But either one of you can just jump in and kind of give those that aren't from the region or haven't experienced this a quick, what is snap jigging and what does that look like?
I'll hit that real quick. As far as the snap jigging thing, I mean, I was aggressively popping for walleyes when I was 8 years old. So that thing's been around as far as aggressively moving a jig. So when we're out in that deep water, I look at the fish on the fish finder. What are they eating? Are they suspended? Where the heck are they? We're going to get the baits through those fish. But a good sharp pop, it's a sharp pop to me, whatever. But a good sharp pop and follow it back at the speed it would fall on its own so you can stay with it and you feel the tick. But anyway, that sharp pop draws attention. My mind says, if I'm a fish looking straight forward and I'm popping it sharply and then Tom is slack jawed, just kind of barely moving it, I'm going to get hit and he is not going to get hit. So their lateral line picks it up, I think. And then, so the aggressively move thing makes the bait look injured. And the key is getting it to the fish. So reading your fish finder, I like to get people to get it down below the fish because you don't know exactly where it's at. Some guys might say, I know I'm 20 feet exact. No, you don't. Get it down past them and work it aggressively back up through the fish. Follow, and that's aggressive jigging to me. And that's a good thing to do in that late fall, winter thing. So that's what I think about it, Tom. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, 100%. I think the one thing I teach my people is once you've snapped it is to really, I hold my rod extremely still. If you've got your rod tip waving all over the place and some slack, you're never going to feel that fish. Mm-hmm. So I'll hold my rod extremely still because now the jig is falling and diving back down again. And if it's still enough, you'll feel that tick, or you'll feel the fish inhale it, take the weight off the jig before. Because once you've felt that real pull, you're probably too late. You missed it.
When you say keep it still, you mean keep it still but following it down, right?
No. Actually, no. I start and finish with my rod tip above the horizon so I can see it.
Okay.
Snap it, and I snap it and return it to the same position. And every part of me is focused on that.
Yeah. Okay.
And I believe what's happening is, as long as we're not going 1.3 knots across the bottom with wind and current, is that the jig is now. I use a paddle tail 99% of the time. The paddle tail is doing its own work, and the jig is now falling again. And by that, and when it gets hit, if I watch people,
Oh my, yeah, none of that.
once they, you had a hit, you just didn't even.
Yeah.
You
That
didn't
looks
even
like Grant jigging what you just did. Yeah.
Man, I think the first time I jigged on your boat, Pete,
I know.
I was instructed firmly a lot. What was that?
You got instructed.
I got firmly instructed.
No, you got coached.
I got
Yeah.
coached with love.
Oh,
Real quick before we go any further, Brian Dolph says gearing up for that now. Big bait season is coming. Excuse me. Brian is the president and owner of Old School Tackle Company, who's also the sponsor of the show. Normally, we're going to have prizes to give away to people that ask the best question, stuff like that. We're going to add some games and things for you to have the potential to stump one of these captains. But if you have a second, go to Brian Dolph's webpage, Old School Tackle Company. They make a great product. And, for both of these gentlemen we have on here tonight, for the waters, all the way up in the north of the bay, all the way down to south of Smith Island, all of these baits will be, all of his baits will be effective in those areas.
absolutely,
So,
no doubt.
back to snap jigging, and Tom, you kind of hit on it a little bit, but you see a lot of variations in the way that people do it. You'll see a really demonstrative snap sometimes. Some guys will do just a little pop. Some guys will do kind of, I've done a big snap and then kind of a pop it down. What are some of the variations of snap jigging that you guys have tried, and maybe what sort of scenario would cause you to try those different things?
I'll start with that. I do a double pop. It's just I've always done a double pop. It wasn't something that somebody taught me or whatever. I'm just comfortable with a double pop, and I don't know why. And of course, I fish alongside my clients. It's much easier for me to demonstrate than to completely just say, do this. So of course, everybody's double popping, and I'm like, you don't need to do the double pop. It's just I'm comfortable for whatever reason doing a double pop, and both pops about the same. Very, very aggressive pops, and I've got people either side of me not as aggressive. 30-inch fish grabs my lure, they don't get bit, and it's I do this every day for a living, and the clients, they go, gee, it's like, it becomes I can have fun with it too if it's a tricky bite. And there's one, I hope he's watching. We had one particular very, very, very good angler, and I said, I'll catch 4 before you can catch 1. And so I hooked one, put that in the rod holder, hooked another one, and I had 4 in rod holders on him before he hooked his first fish. And
Sweet.
if you are watching, he'll give me some stick later. But and he's outstanding. He's an outstanding fisherman. But if I'm dialed in, there's a mental focus concentrating that. What I know now, after years of doing this, I can't imagine how many fish I used to miss when I was jigging 20 years ago. Can't imagine, it's unbelievable.
To piggyback on what you said, you talked about your double tap and whatever. Grant, I think you said what scenario or whatever, do you do a long pop or a short pop? So I'll throw that one in there. A short, sharp pop. The best guys with jigs, short and sharp, when say you got 20 feet of water, you got some lumps, wherever you're at above the Bay Bridge, wherever it lumps down south of the target ship, whether you're fishing for reds or anything, if there's fish that you see glued to the bottom and you're gonna go with the jig head heavy enough to detect that bottom, a good tick on the bottom, and you're gonna short, sharp pop that and follow it back. Pop, pop, maybe. There's your pop, pop. Don't pop, pop, pop. No triple. No triple. Just pop, pop, pop. And the word I use all the time to my guys is erratic. It's erratic. So pop, 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 pop. That's not erratic, Tom. It's pop, 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 pop. But you got to keep a snug line and you got to follow it down. But shallow water, short and sharp, that draws attention. And then in that 60, 70, 80 feet of water, fish are suspended. Go for that longer pop. And I like to Pop it, hold it, follow it back. This is the cadence. Pop it, hold it, follow it back. If you pop it and drop it, you put slack in the line.
Yeah.
I hate slack. So pop it, hold it, follow it back. Some guys want to pop and drop, make slack. Drives me crazy on the boat. And I'll grab a rod or their rod and pop it, hold it, follow it back, keeping a snug line. And on the follow back, I always say, let it fall at the speed it would fall if it was falling through the water by itself. Don't slow it down because that looks bad. That's the dog turd technique. Looks like dog turd floating down. You want it to fall on its own at the speed it would fall, not slowing it down and not putting slack. So it takes a little practice. But anyway, deep water, fish suspended, long pop. When you're targeting them on the bottom, shallow pop. I mean, short and sharp.
Guys, if you're new to snap jigging, school is in session right now. Brian Dolph, the owner of Old School, actually stepped in, and he said, if you got a favorite question tonight, let me know. He'll send out a pack of the OGs paired with a 2-ounce 2S jig. That's deadly for this deep water snap jigging. So the question of the night is on, and the way that we're going to do this is we have 2 captains tonight. Each one of these guys is going to choose a question of the night, and Brian, I'll pay for the other one. So we got 2 prizes for the evening. So if you got a question, we got some coming in. I know I've missed some, so we're going to go back. But Carl has a question. He says, what size jig head do y'all most often use jigging in the main bay?
Carl, it depends on what's going on with the fish. What depth are you fishing? If you're out in the main stem of the bay and it's flat calm and the fish are 40 feet down and 100 feet of water, well, an ounce will do it pretty nice. You could probably even get lighter, but an ounce is what I'd use. And then if you're in shallow water, my God, I've been using a 1/4 ounce all the time. But in the main bay, if you're talking main bay, if it's flat calm, an ounce would do it. If it's windy, 2 ounces, even 2.5. If you're using a 10-inch BKD, 2.5. Get it out there, get it down, and work that big fat jig head down there, and it'll get down. But with an ounce, it wouldn't get down as good. So I want to use the jig head weight that will get me to the fish the best.
Just to follow up on what Pete says, I think 90% of people don't catch fish is because they don't get it. They don't get down enough. They don't understand the dynamic of a boat going through the water or across the bottom at 1 knot because of wind and tide. As soon as you tighten that up on the reel, as soon as you've locked your bail, that lure is just coming up and up and up and up and off the bottom.
Yeah,
you keep your lure in the zone. Keep it down. Keep down. And so
I always want to tell them, let it go 10 seconds.
They ask me how long. I'm like,
fish, get it past
it, have a coffee, come back,
and you're working it. You
get
it
down there. You can't start too deep. You can
Here's
start
the fish,
shallow.
And you're working it back up through the fish. They're gonna nail it when you come through them.
Yeah,
That's
you
all.
can't start too. You can't start too deep. You can start too shallow.
That's right.
Rodney's asking a question that I was just about to ask. I was going to say, at what time of year or what point do you guys switch over and use a lot of metal jigs? He phrased it differently. He said, do you prefer a tungsten jig for fishing?
I'm not really a metal jig guy, even in 60 feet of water. Still use a small paddle tail and a pretty heavy jig head. I'll go up to 1.5 ounces. I don't really fish 2 ounces unless I'm fishing for redfish or maybe the infamous rips if necessary. But if I'm open water fishing, I just, we can get it down there again, cast it out, let it sit. It'll get down there and pop it a couple of times. You'll have a fish. I think metal gets you smaller fish. That's my feeling.
Here's my answer to that one. I do like metal, and I'm going to use. I love plastic. I'd rather go plastic, but I'll tell you what. In December, January, last December, January, if 72, anywhere 72, anywhere near those edges, say if the fish were on the bottom at 50 feet.
Yeah, well, that's true. January, February, yes, I use
a 4-ounce diamond jig. Yeah. I want to get to those fish right now. If I'm on my boat and I got Grant dropping down with the plastic, he'll get to them. Good,
I'm with you.
I'm going to get him. But that diamond jig drops 4 ounces. It's going to get down quick. You're going to be to those fish. And if they're decent fish at all, they're going to demolish it. And I got some over 40s on metal last year.
Yeah, I'm with you. Actually, that's true. I do in January, February, which I hadn't considered. Yeah, we use metal.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we got big perch on them too.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, the Brian, you dangling the prize, you drop in the 4-ounce diamond jig in front of the viewers' faces has gotten the questions running. Ron asked, how does the tide play into the jigging game, if at all?
Well, Ron, current plus structure equals fish. Here's what I think. You know what? Great question right there. We're out in the main stem of the bay, December, January, whatever the case may be. Slack tide might not. If you find fish and get over the top of them, they'll eat. But when that tide gets moving, I believe that the menhaden that they're feeding on, they push it into the current, so everything gets tighter. They're pushing it into the current, and they can trap it and they can feed on that bait better. But when the tide goes slack, I think the bait might be able to escape every which way in different directions. So I just think they corral it better, which brings the bait together and the fish together, and we can drop down on them and catch them better. We can still catch them on slack tide, but current is good. And in my shallow game, current plus structure equals fish, period. That's what I think.
Well said, Pete.
We'll let you answer this one, Tom. I already know the answer, but John asked, do you have a favorite color paddle tail for deep water jigging?
Well, I only use this is not true for the first time in a long time.
Oh.
What is the color? I want to know.
In the spring this year, I went, because of the absolute, in the spring, I did an experiment very scientifically, and I took 2 chartreuse paddle tails and 2 white paddle tails, 4 of us. And if you caught one on one, you had to switch your rod with somebody else, so you weren't always, so it wasn't the angler, et cetera, et cetera. Because of that gin clear water, I was struggling to catch some of these fish. So we switched from chartreuse to white. So 2 chartreuse, 2 white. In about half an hour, it was 14-1 on white.
Nice. You know what? That was my favorite this spring, but I didn't do an experiment. And
I did it because I'm 100% chartreuse the rest of the year. I have a bag of probably 10 white paddle tails in my tackle box just in case, but it's all chartreuse. And it's small. It's relatively small.
Tom, on your boat, it's happened on my boat a lot. I'll have 2, 3, 4 guys fishing, whatever. One guy is catching, and he's catching, and he's catching, and then the other dude says he's got a purple glitter or a chartreuse, and the other guy's got a white or whatever color the other guy's got. The other guy's catching, the other guy's not. I know what the problem is. It's where and how you put it. So I will take the rod out of this dude's hand and put it in this guy's hand, and this guy will catch on any color because it's how and where he puts it.
Grant knows, he fishes with me. There's only one color on my boat for exactly that reason. I don't have purple glitter. I don't have pink. I don't have electric chicken. I have a 2000. I get given every year by my kind guys at All Tackle Leather. Give me 2000 4-inch paddle tails.
Sweet.
Chartreuse. I only have one color because that very reason. I don't want one guy catching. Now I'm going to switch 14 rods out to another color, and then that switches. So I use one color. It might not be the right color for the day. We just call it a poor day. You know as well as I do, 90% of the time it's the placement and action and detecting the bite.
Gotcha.
Justin has a question. He says, why are the birds only in certain Middle Bay, Eastern Shore areas this year? Doesn't seem to be much north or south.
I'll answer.
All right, Pete, that's all you.
Because there used to be this many fish. Now there's this many fish. So there used to be this many. So when a population of fish shrink, their range shrinks. So wherever they're at, it's wonderful. Everybody's great. But it's where they're not at is the alarming thing. So that answers your question. Used to be this many. Now there's this many in the bay. What do you think, Tom?
Well, enhancing that, where we're seeing the birds, there used to be this many fish under those birds. Yeah. Now there's this many that are actually under those birds. And I'm talking oftentimes, because now we have side scan and things like that, we can count the number of fish that we see as we go by. Oftentimes schools of 10, 12 fish, which not that long ago, 10 years ago, that would have been thousands of fish.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing very small schools of fish. Even the birds on top are a false illusion because it looks like there's a lot of fish. A lot of birds, everybody equates with a lot of fish.
Yep.
Not true. Not true.
Yep.
I'm going to ask one more question for the evening, and then we're going to go into the unexpected question of the night. But well, it's going to be a two-part question, and both of you guys can answer it. One is you have unlimited funds to buy a snap jigging rig. So we're talking, rod and reel. And since we're running low on time, we'll go ahead and include the test line that we're going to use in the leader. So you have unlimited funds, and the second part of it is you have $150. So we're trying to get a budget rig for somebody, and then the guy that just wants to drop the coin, the rig for that angler. Tom, you want to go first?
I will. I will. It's tricky. I use one combo on my boat for everyday use. I mean, I'm talking the not the big redfish and the big drum and things like big striped bass, but my everyday combo. There's a couple of things about it that's interesting. I use a St. Croix 6.6 medium heavy fast. There are really good rods out there. The custom rods come extra fast. They're typically a little longer. I like a 6.6. I really struggle with 7 feet, but the 6.8, 6.9. So, you can get, any of these great Chesapeake Bay made rods with extra fast. Extra fast on a charter boat is not really much good. I've had a few experiments with people who've given me rods to check out. They break, and so I prefer a 6.6. And the St. Croix actually in the one I use, which is a Triumph, which is their production rod, don't make an extra fast. They make a 6, and then in their custom rods, they're all 6.8 or 7 feet, and I just don't like that for jigging. So my unlimited budget, I would use the rod combo, i.e. the 6.6 medium fast St. Croix Triumph, any number of reels in the 3,000 range. I mean, if it was personal, my use, I'd use a 2,500 reel, but I think most guys for the charter stuff, I use a 3,000, 10-pound braid and a 20-pound leader would be my standard setup.
All right. Okay, my turn? My turn.
Sure, Pete. Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got backyard custom rods, and I love mine. I use 6.8. I have medium action, and I have medium heavy. And then I've got some bigger sticks that he's recently made for the big reds and stuff because we want to get those in quicker. But I like 6.8 medium. It's a fast action tip. The medium heavy, it's a great 6.8 stick, and it's been perfect for all the stuff I do, whether it be 30-inch fishing shallow. My mediums handle those fish well. The medium heavies, I like to sling a surface plug. I can throw them.
Oh, that's the 7-foot rod. That's fine. Yeah, that's when I want a big rod.
Yeah, with the medium heavy. But so for rod cost, Steve's rods are reasonable, but for the 150 range, I'm not even sure. But here's what I've told people on my boat before. I don't care what the label says on a fishing pole. I'm going to pick it up and feel it. If it feels good to me, I'm going to get it. I could probably go to any tackle shop and pick up a rod that's well under $100, wiggle it, say, that feels pretty good. I'll take it. You go to the Bass Pro Shop, you go to Walmart. I'm going to go there. But anyway, go to local tackle shops, sell plenty of great sticks that don't cost a lot of money. So I would go there and feel it. I don't like a loose rod. A bent rod at the boat scares me, Tom. When it's really doubled over because it's such a whippy stick, those bite you in the face if the hook comes out. I hate that.
Yeah, sunglasses.
Well, I don't care. I still don't want them. But anyway, I use the 3,000 and 4,000 size reels on my boat. I've got Cast King reels. They last longer than Penn Battles, and they last longer than Shimano Stratics because people on guide boats sometimes winch. And I coach against winching big time. You fight the long skinny thing fights the fish, and the drag fights the fish. Not the you don't do that. Get on a charter boat and winch one in. That's what you do with the trolling sticks, but not with our light tackle, huh, Tom? Does that make you cringe when they go and go whoop, whoop, whoop?
Yep.
Unlimited. I'll probably have Steve make the prettiest thing I can come up with a backyard custom rod, and I would go with a Shimano Stella. What the hell?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
And I like in my world, I like a 14 braid or a 14 fire line.
14 carrier.
It's a little skinny for me. And then I like a 30 liter a lot of the time. If the water's clear, then a 20. But I use 30 a lot in shallow, and it's never a problem. Yep, so
I mean, I'll use 30, I suppose, with my top water.
20 at the boat when you try to leader a fish a little bit. If he tugs a little abruptly, or if it's abraded just a little bit, man, they break it like bread, a 20-pound leader.
Yep.
So I like 30. It doesn't break as quick, and it hasn't interrupted my catching rate as far as I can tell. So anyway, that's my take.
Well, guys, you guys got a ton of information. You guys got a budget stick, the Cast King stuff. There's Sharky 2s, right?
Yeah, that's Sharky 3.
I mean, it's like a $55 reel if you're a new angler and you don't have a lot of money and you're trying to get into this. That's gold.
They're also good if you got your own boat and your own good stuff, and you got friends that don't really appreciate your stuff. Get those reels. It's like $660, $65 for 4,000 maybe. It's a good size reel, and I'm telling you, they last on my boat. They last longer than the other guys. But I'll get you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But we're gonna do the question of the night. I'm gonna give you guys, since we're sort of throwing this on both of you captains last minute, about 10 seconds, 10, 15 seconds to come up with it. Both of you guys gave me some awesome pictures. So we're going to kind of scroll through those pictures, come back in a second, and decide who's going to get 2 of those prize packs from Old School Tackle Company. You guys can hum, the Jeopardy song or whatever it is.
Tom, do you remember all the questions?
Yeah. I don't remember these fish. Yeah, we got the questions and who sent them. Yeah.
No. That was in October.
Nice.
Under bluefish in 8 feet of water. Yeah. Hey Tom, I think I know what my question is. Do you know what yours is?
No, I don't.
Did you remember any of them?
No. I normally write them down. I didn't have a pen today.
Yeah.
So in that case, if one of you guys can't remember, I will go through and maybe I'll redisplay them. How about that? Would that help?
That would be good.
Okay. So
I normally I've just jot them down so I do remember them.
Tom, where's your accent from? I know I've asked you that one other time. Where are you from?
From New Zealand.
From? Okay.
Yeah, Christchurch.
okay.
I tell people Southern Maryland, but then they'd confuse me with you, and then we'd be in.
Wait, I got hair.
John asked favorite.
That's the one.
Tail.
That's the one. That's the winner for me. Yep. Easy.
All right. That's
John,
John
you
gets
win.
the prize. When do you go to flutter spoons, Pete? How does the tide play into it? Tungsten jigs. Excuse me.
Keep going.
Let's see. What size jig do you use most often? Let's see. Why are the birds only in a certain middle bay area?
That's a good question. You know what? That's the question right there for me.
That's the question.
Yep.
Hey, Junior, I feel like I might have missed a question of yours. Next time you get 2 in there, buddy, I apologize. I think we got too many questions coming in, but
There he is.
let's answer it anyways. Again, he's getting frustrated with me. He says, you have a person who has never jigged in the bay. If you have to choose a lure, which would you give him so he has a better chance of having a great day of fishing?
I know Tom's answer.
Yeah.
A paddle tail.
A paddle tail.
Yeah. A paddle tail, was I right? I mean,
100%.
you know what? A storm shad casts good. It's got that buoyancy like a 4-inch paddle, storm shad. It's a good caster for that inexperienced guy or girl. If the wind is blowing, it definitely casts better in the wind. And it's got the paddle on it, so it does its own thing. And I can coach them on speed and cadence. A little bit of twitch in it, but it's not difficult. It's easy. And so that's mine. A storm shad, and we'll go with chartreuse or white.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, guys, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in. Captain Walleye Pete, Captain Tom Weaver, you guys are a pleasure to have on as always. 2 big personalities. I was kind of worried that you guys might duke it out
Oh, always. Yeah.
But
yeah, he's too old for me to do that.
He's going to leave a couple of fish in the bay by being up in the mountains for me
Yeah.
for the next couple of days. So
there you go. But we have a lot of things coming up. Next week we're going to sort of do a very similar thing to this with Cambo Trout and Eddie Weber talking about freshwater, and then we're going to do a trip further south and around Ocean City and talk with CL Marshall and Big Bird about the Ocean City Southern Bay bite. But we're going to be doing this every week and, well, monthly with these two gentlemen. So we'll do the first 3 Thursdays of the month. But thank you guys so much for watching. Tight lines, keep them wet, and we'll see you next week.
All right, guys. Enjoy your